Okay, good morning. Well, good afternoon. Good morning was this morning. We start just showing you a video that I found in internet. That should be an educational video for retreading. I will not spend any words. Normally this video takes 20 minutes, but as here we have very few time. I have accelerated 4 times, so it will be more difficult for you to follow. But the purpose of this video is to show you if you find something wrong during this processing of retreading tires. Then we will go through the presentation, and at the end of the presentation I will tell you if there is something wrong in this video. For the person that, by the way, are interested to understand better the retreading processing, there is this book that I wrote and is available on the Technobit facilities, and you can find there. Here there is a complete manual for retreaders. It starts from the history of retreading, and then there is the different processing, which are hot cure, pre-cure, mold cure, and there is the entire manual, retreading manual, step by step, all the retreading process. And it's very, very interesting. Okay, let's have a look at this video very quick. It's 4 times accelerated. It's okay, it's fine. We don't have time, so I cannot show you this video for 20 minutes, but I don't know how much you are experienced with the retreading process. We are almost at the end. I don't know whether you were able to spot any mistake, but I can tell you, this is plenty of mistakes. Okay. Almost done. Okay, let's start. What are the most common mistakes that, based on the experience that I had in my business career, I found while visiting Retreaders. Can you change the slide for me? Yes, thank you. So we start from the first point, number 1, which is the casing catheterization. What it means that many times, walking through a retreading factory, I have seen that the retreaders were totally disconnected from the salespeople. It means that they were building on a fantastic casing, a very economic thread, or on contrary, they were building in a poor casing and a very expensive thread. In both cases were wrong. Every casing has is a specific DNA. It means how many miles there is in this casing. And we need always to find the right or the proper thread to be put on these new casings. This is a very fundamental to avoid two things. First one, that if I put an excellent performing thread in a casing that cannot support that much miles, we have a failure maybe after 100,000 kilometers, and still we have maybe 20 or 15 or 12 millimeters of thread, and the end user is disappointed. As well as we can have a casing that have in his DNA more than 300,000 miles still available, and I put a cheap thread that just give me 50,000 or 80,000 miles. This is still wrong. Is another important consideration regarding the casing categorization is that each producer of new tires are producing specific tires from a specific position or from a specific application. This means that if I find the casing that was supposed to be for a long haul application, I cannot use this casing in an off-road application because the casing cannot support, must be a more robust casing to work into this type of application. So we need to understand these fundamental things. The casings has to be selected properly. A good thing is to ask your salespeople to realize where this casing were used before entering into the retreading process. And another point is the ozone cracking. Ozone cracking is shown here in this part of the video, and sometimes you see that maybe that ozone cracking has this aspect, and still we are using this casing with a very high performing thread, and will securely give you a failure along the road. Next slide, please. Another funny thing that I have seen in my business career, walking through many retreading factories from North America to Australia to South Africa, is the inspection sequencing, which means that when I inspect the casing, I have a sequence that has been, let's say, described or prepared by 100 years of experience. So this sequence gives me the possibility to check first the most difficult part of the casing. So if, for instance, I start inspecting my tires, starting from the crown, when I am at the end of the process, maybe I find that the liner was discolored because on under inflated, and the casing has to be thrown away. So the correct inspection sequence start from inspecting first the liner, then the bead, left and right, then the sidewall, and then on the last point on the crown. Another important point that I found, still following these mistakes, is that the inspector are inspecting tires in not very well illuminated area. When you inspect the casing, that should be very much illuminated area in order to spot any single difficult fails that this casing has. And last point, again, on casing inspection, is the use of the gloves. Many inspectors, when are inspecting the casing, especially the liner internally, they are using gloves to protect the hand. This is totally mistaken, because using the gloves when you inspect the liner, you might not find some leads that has broken the liner, and you don't feel, because are very micro leads of cables. So it's very important that when the inspector inspects the liner, has to be his hand free. I know that sometimes said, yeah, but this is the rules. Next one. Okay, again, here we are talking about the buffing profile. To combine the new thread with the casing, it's very important that I find the correct profile. In the past, when the tires was 100 series, means 120020, that was very easy to buff the tires. But as today, as the tires are enlarging more and more, the buffing profile assume a very importance in order to have a perfect bonding between the new thread and the casings. And sometimes we have different radius in this buffing profile. We have the radius for the shoulders, we have the radius for the crown, and even in the wide base tires, we have a negative radius in the center of the tire. So it's very important to apply the correct buffing profile. And another important point is the correct RMA. What is the RMA? Is the texture of the casings when it's been buffed. Has been designed a different type of RMA, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Perfect retreading has to be retreaded when the RMA could be 3 or 4, because 5 or 6 can heat the cushion gum. And if it is the bonding between the new thread and the casing could not be so efficient, and you might have failure along the road in the future. Okay, another area, skiving. Skiving. All the process, all the steps in the retreading process can lead to a failure along the road. And skiving for sure is one of those. It's more critical. Why? Because normally the retreading factory, they put in the skiving in the skiving process the last comer in the company, because it's a very dirty job. The skiving is very dirty. And normally the newcomer, the new employees, they take him and they put there. But there we need to have very expert. If I put a new one, when he doesn't, maybe he might have scorched the rubber because he's using wrongly the mill, or he cannot cut back perfectly the steel within the rubber to prepare this skive. And this will lead again to another mistake. Can we go to the next one? Even repairing is very important. Repairing is another important steps that drives into difficulties, failure along the road. Proper repair person must be sent fluently to training section to learn about the repair. Repair is very important. If I look at this casing, despite a lot of repair that you can hear, is still working because the repair has been made perfectly. Next one. I'm rushing. I'm sorry, but the time is very short. Cushion application. Okay. The cushion is another important, and one of the problems that I see is that they apply the cushion gum when the cement is not dried yet, which drives into gasification when the tires is in the process of being cured, and the gasification prevent the bonding between the rubber, the new thread, and the casing. Not only, but gasification might provide or give fire to the pressure chamber. So it's very important that when the casings are built with the cushion gum, the cement solution has to be completely dried. Next one. Another point that happens sometime is the use of cushion gum which is already expired. Maybe the cushion gum has not been stored properly into the storing. We know cushion gum is made mainly by natural rubber, and natural rubber has a temperature of vulcanization which is very low. And in summer, if I keep the cushion gum in some part of my factory, when we have 50 degrees in the factory, the cushion gum already start the vulcanization. And this is the result. What happened? This is a serography picture of cushion gum already expired in the process. So, but unfortunately, the tire was already retreaded. So, has to be reworked completely if I want to save these casings. Other important mistakes that I have seen, sometimes just to save money, Retreaders uses thread which are too narrow compared to the buffing profile of the casing. So the buffer is always the process that determines which will be the proper width of the thread that has to be fit into these new retread tires. Next one, building. Okay. In the building, we can have often contamination. Contamination of by hand. The hands are always fatty. They are releasing continuously grease. And if I touch the surface of the casings, or I touch the cushion gum, my grease remains and avoid and prevent that the tires can be perfectly vulcanized into the new tires. Another point is rolling the tires after being built in the floor. How many times I have seen that they just remove the casing from the building machine and they put in the floor. Well, what is the end of this? That when they put the casing in the floor, which is already being built, the casing collects small pieces of rubber. When they envelope this casing to be prepared for the vulcanization, and they start creating the vacuum, these small pieces of rubber tend to migrate from the thread, and they end up where? In the DPC. The DPC is the differential pressure compensation in a pressure chamber. And when the DPC is completely blocked by the piece of rubber, that the tires that has been rolled in the floor, you threw away the entire pressure chamber, 22 tires, if your pressure chamber has 22 tires. Never roll the tires in the floor, even if the floor is cleaned, it's never cleaned enough to make this job. Next one. Positioning the tire in the pressure chamber on the right positioning. It's very important. We need to put the smallest tires in the front in order that the ventilation of the air inside the pressure chamber can reach completely and eat completely the tires at the same level. Okay. Next one. Okay, we have seen the video. Now, in these 3 minutes that I have left, I will show you what was the mistake in this video. The first mistake that you can see is the uneven surface. The surface is too rough. In this process, this is an RMA 6+, which means that when they put the cushion gum, most of the cushion gum will be hit by the casings, and they will not allow to bind completely the tire in the pressure chamber. The second mistake was the massive use of cement. Cement costs money. And you have seen when they went with the brush, they were painting, and they were using massive quantity of cement. So, in this case, the even worse that you will see in the next slide, that they were building these tires when the cement was still dry, was not dried, was still wet. It was really terrible. Craters that are not to fillet. You see, one of the craters of this, one of the skiving, one of the craters was not properly filled with new rubber in order to avoid. And here for sure remain trapped air when they put the new thread. And this will lead again to a failure. Next slide, please. And contamination is with the end, putting the end on the top of the casing already prepared for a threader. So this is an ending contamination. And contamination of the shoulder strip. These are the shoulder strips that are putting, and they are opening the polyfilm and touching with the end. So these are, don't think, it happened in many factories. It happened to me many years ago that I had a certain number of failures in one of the factories that I was following. And then we didn't realize the reason. So fortunately, we had all the job sheet, and we discovered that all the production of this week had a failure problem. And we went and we tried to understand what the reason was. Well, simply the reason the workers that was supposed to build the tire had problem with his hand, and he was using cream in the hand. And then he was building the tire with the cream. And so we had something like 200 tires that went off. So it's very important to do that. Contamination with the hand is terrible. Next one. Improper use of cushion gum. You see, when they put the cushion gum on the crown, after they cut the cushion gum, the cushion gum costs a lot of money. This is a lot of waste that they have made in this. And even the splice contamination. So he's touching continuously with the hand. So it's totally drama. Next one. Underside of the thread contamination. You can see here they take the strip, the new strip, with the hand. This is not possible. Thread was already prepared. Again, the cushion was not dried before. I'm sorry, here in this presentation, I cannot see perfectly what is the reality. But when they put the new thread on top of these casings, the tire was still totally wet. Okay. I still have 1 minute. Next one. The thread preparation. Look at this picture. This casing, this strip has been cut on the tires, and the gentleman is keeping with one end one of the two leads of the strip, and with the carbide is cleaning. But all the dust will go here in this part, and will remain there, even if after with the brushes tries to remove. But when the small quantity of rubber goes into the cushion gum, it makes a lot of mistake. Next one, I am finished. Massive use of cement, thread splice preparation, and contamination of the thread splice. Tire built-in compression. You see, here it's an hot spot, a heavy spot here in this part, and the tire will roll uneven. Next one, finished. Waste. Look how much rubber. This make happy the producer of rubber, but not the owner of the factory. So, said that, thank you very much. If you want to know more, again, about this book, you can find this book in the resources of Technobiz, and that will give you a lot of insight if you are operating a retreading factory, including the retreading process system. Thank you. Thanks for listening.